The ACLU has honored Christine Blasey Ford with the Courage Award. Wow. The ACLU is trash, and I'm really saddened to say saddened by this development. You know, there have been a lot of things the ACLU has done in the past I've much respected. They used to defend civil liberties, but you can actually see the moment when the soul of the ACLU was grasped and torn from its withered husk of a body. You see, the ACLU used to defend civil liberties, period, even for those who are detestable. They once defended a Klan rally in Skokie, Illinois, a famous case. And it's not the only time they've done it. And I used to be proud to say this. But when I worked as a nonprofit fundraiser, I actually signed up new members for the ACLU. It was my job to go out and tell people why the ACLU was important. I got paid to do it. And other people, and the people I signed up paid the ACLU to help them continue their work. And I was proud of that. Now I'm ashamed of it. I'm ashamed over what the ACLU has become because they've defended overt racism, but now defending Blasey Ford. Listen, man, it's. I don't care if you think she's a hero or if you hate her. The fact is, she is a random person who came up. She had she had no corroboration. She had this flimsy accusation from 30, 40 years ago, and there's no courage in that. Okay, coming out and being like, I think I remember this thing 40 years ago. Dude, are you kidding me? I was having a shower thought earlier because I saw this story and I was like, you know what's funny? Like, there are people that I grew up with. I can't remember their names. Like, they're okay, not like good friends of mine. It's not like I'm senile. There are people that, like, a friend of my ex-girlfriend that I used to see periodically, and I'm like, what was her name again? Man, I don't remember. There was one chick I dated 10 years ago. Can't remember her name. Like, you know what I mean? And so for the ACLU to give an award to a woman who has this accusation from 40 years ago with no corroboration, you know what, man? I'm just saddened and offended by what's happening. See, here, I'll tell you exactly when the ACL had its soul ripped out. The ACLU rejected Donald Trump's call for a travel ban, a moratorium. He was saying that these specific countries, we will not allow people to enter the U.S. from there. A lot of people called it a Muslim ban. That's Trump's own fault because he called for a Muslim ban in the past. But the nations included, I believe, North Korea and Venezuela. So it wasn't just about banning Muslims. And there were many countries that were Muslim that weren't banned. So no, it was apparently there were a list of nations that were high risk that Obama put together and Trump said, let's do it. The ACLU rejected that. There was a massive anti-Trump leftist resistance protest at airports. And so the ACLU said, we're filing a suit to block Trump from doing this. You can't do that. It's a violation of civil liberties. I can respect that. I can respect that, ACLU. Well, the ACLU saw record donations. Bravo. They resisted Trump, and sure enough, the money came pouring in. But what happened then when Charlottesville was going to take place? Well, the ACLU actually defended Charlottesville, saying they have a right to march, thinking they were proud and we're going to stand up for our liberal ideals. And guess what happened? The left was outraged, furious, because the left looked the ACLU in the eyes and said, we have no principles, we have no integrity, we simply want to win. We want power. We don't care about who is allowed to speak. We don't care about civil liberties. We don't care about justice. Bend the knee or perish. And the ACLU dropped to the floor in a pool of its own urine, shivering, saying, please, please. The ACLU, a husk of its former self. You can tell I'm really angry about this because of the work I've done for them in the past. I feel like they shoved a knife right in my back. I'll admit, though, I'm biased. It doesn't have as much to do with the Christine Blasey Ford thing or Charlottesville or whatever. You know, if they want to defend someone's right to free speech and then all hell breaks loose, that's a different look, man. Am I going to be mad at the ACLU because they defended the Charlottesville march? No, because we didn't know what Charlottesville was going to be. I didn't go. I didn't want to go. I didn't go and cover it, right? There was a lot of journalists who went, and I wasn't going to be one of them because I've never actually covered any of those events. I've gone to like Trump rallies, but not that. Well, after the fact, it devolved into just utter madness, and we know how it ended. That's not the ACLU's fault, okay? It's not the fault that a clash broke out. But I'll tell you why I'm so angry at the ACLU, and it's less to do with these things and more to do with the ACLU defending overt racism. Just overt racism. They said, make no mistake, the lawsuit against Harvard that's purported to represent the interests of Asian American students would primarily benefit white students if successful. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm in your way, ACLU. Now I get it. Okay, I've talked about my ethnicity a lot. This is why. A lot of people think it's funny, but no, man, you don't understand what it's like. You know, to be used as a weapon by these groups for these ridiculous socialist endeavors that fly in the face of what civil liberties are supposed to be used as a shield. And then when you speak up, they just tell you you're white. So I get it. I'm not the most Asian person in the world. But make no mistake, what the ACLU is saying by rejecting this and defending Harvard is that, for one, all Asians are Chinese, because for the most part, the Asians who get into these schools, they're wealthy Chinese immigrants or Indian immigrants. They're not Vietnamese or Laotian or, to an extent, Korean. They're not Filipino. What they're saying is, if you look too much like them, you can't go to this school. I know I'm exaggerating a little bit. It's basically you're going to have a harder time getting in. So yes, that's racist. That's not defending civil liberties. Civil liberties would be defending the individual from a machine that says, because you look like this, you can't come here. That's racist. And that's what the ACLU has become. Let's read a little bit about Christine Blasey Ford. Kavanaugh accuser Christine Blasey Ford accepted an award for courage from the ACLU on Sunday. They honored Ford, who accused Brett Kavanaugh of assault, with the Roger Baldwin Courage Award at the ACLU of Southern California's Bill of Rights dinner. Please. Ford works as a professor of psychology at Palo Alto University. When I came forward last September, I did not feel courageous. Oh, it's probably because you felt guilty. I was simply doing my duty as a citizen, providing information to the Senate that I believed would be relevant to the Supreme Court nomination process, she added. I thought anyone in my position would, of course, do the same thing. Also, apparently, she purged all of her social media and records of her existence from the internet before coming forward with a dubious 40-year-old accusation that couldn't be corroborated. Very courageous, ACLU. Thank you so much. Now I'm going to stop. I had an anecdote, but I could probably get sued. The ACLU has let me down on other instances, okay? And I'll leave it there. Ford said she was inspired by Anita Hill and by values her parents instilled in her growing up in Washington, D.C. Oh, the by any means necessary, scorched earth, no holds barred destruction of our institutions. Think about it. We're trying to appoint a Supreme Court justice. The president was elected. He says, this is who I want. We're good. All of a sudden, an unfounded 30-plus-year-old accusation emerges from somebody who can't corroborate any of that, and we take it and we give this person an award. I can say it a million times. I'm sorry. I had a responsibility to my country, to my fellow citizens, to my students, to my children, to live the values that I try to teach them. She also said her testimony inspired 20,000 women across the country to send her message about their assault experiences. That's why it meant so much to be recognized by you tonight, Ford told the Bill of Rights dinner audience. Because I know you will continue the work of protecting survivors and preventing assault. You will continue the work to protect personal privacy and the rights of citizens. That's not what they're doing. That's not what they're doing at all. The ACLU is a farce. The ACLU has become just a shill organization to say, you know what, just tell us what to say and give us your money. I know people who work there or who have, and I've heard some hopeful things that internally there's a lot of people who are demoralized and scared because we know what the ACLU used to do. Like, they only recently defended Charlottesville, but after that, things changed. Now they're just a husk that says whatever the resistance, outrage, insanity wants them to. The people who believe that by any means necessary, they will take what they want from the rest of us. The lunatic authoritarians who will lie, cheat, and steal. And those of us who say you shouldn't do that are left behind. The ACLU should be ashamed of itself. I am so utterly disgusted and ashamed to have ever done anything for their benefit. And I'm ashamed that some of the people I signed up maybe are still donors. And I hope, based off what I pitched when I said to sign up, those people agree with me. At the time, I said simple things like, you realize the ACLU has defended the right of even the Klan to speak. And people would say, I disagree with what they say, but I defend to the death their right to say it. We'll protest them and we'll shut them down and we'll use our free speech right back. But the ACLU recognizes the importance of defending free speech even for those people. What happened to that? Where did it go? I'll tell you this, man. The ACLU doesn't deserve your support, doesn't deserve your money, and it's a damn shame. You got me saying damn. And you can't say that on YouTube. I'll admit that's considered a swear. Giving an award to Christine Blasey Ford, I saw that, and it just kind of reignites all of that, all the negative feelings I have about what they've become. And I'll tell you what, man, this does play into a bit about what I was saying earlier on my main channel with Eric Weinstein, saying that, liberals are being pushed out by their own side. People are flinging poo at them, so they're leaving. What does it say when an organization that I supported that I worked on behalf of, that I convinced people to join the ACLU, has become this. What does it say about our society? I'll tell you what, I didn't change. Maybe a little bit in some ways, but, we all change a little bit. But my politics are still where they are, believing in freedom, being a bit of a social liberal with left-wing policy ideas. But look at this. Anybody who pretends like Christine Blasey Ford had anything relevant to say is lying to themselves and to you, because she did not. What she said would never fly at all in a court of law, and they admit it. They say, oh, but it's not about a court of law. It's about whether or not a credible accusation should be ignored when we're talking about the Supreme Court. It would be ignored by any sane, logical standard. It's not a conservative position to say that. You are just evil people who will destroy everything in your wake to get what you want. You want power, and boy, I hope you never get it. I hope they won't. I got one more segment coming up for you in a minute. I will see you shortly.